Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research, and I'm here inside the Expo Hall at Black Hat 2025 in Las Vegas. I'm with Briana Farro and Matt Robertson, both with the threat detection response team at Cisco. I want to talk about threat detection response, but before we do that, this is both of you first time on with me. So Matt, why don't we start with you, a little intro on yourself and what you do.
I'm a distinguished engineer, threat detection response at Cisco. Focus a lot on our detection strategy.
And Briana?
I'm Director of Product Management for the Threat Detection and Response portfolio, focusing on XDR and EDR.
Okay, now, since you're both in the threat detection response, I'm going to start with you, Matt. Obviously, everyone cares about threat detection response. I think with the rise of AI and all this other stuff going on around us, it's changed a lot. So give me the lay of the land. What's going on with threat detection response today?
Well, a lot of things, as you pointed out, AI has changed the game significantly, both on the attacker side and on the defender side. But probably the biggest shift, at least in awareness of the security industry, is security operations, threat detection is almost always historically focused on endpoint. But attackers have begun to pivot and realize there's more than just endpoints out there in the world that they can operate on. So there's been a huge shift to operation in infrastructure devices and things that we considered the unmanaged portions of your network.
And there's more of those, right?
And there's a lot more of those in the world, and they are all vulnerable. And so the big shift in threat detection right now is how can we detect threats on those unmanaged devices? And Cisco's strategy has always been the network as the center of the world, and so we're looking a lot more at just using network data to detect threats on those unmanaged devices.
I think it's a good call out too that the definition of an endpoint has changed, not only with the hybrid working model, but even to Matt's point, now you might think of an infrastructure component as more of an endpoint because of the way it can be treated, the data that it's processing. That's just going to keep getting more and more relevant.
In every keynote I've seen Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, do this year, he's talked about the next wave of AI being physical AI, where we're going to have robots, cobots, autonomous vehicles, robotic arms, all this stuff that is going to be connected to the network. That's simply going to add to the problem, is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to, and even now, you can't think of only systems as well. We have a lot of agentless and those items and how we're processing through APIs. So we see attacks on that, and I expect we'll see that as we move forward with more of the AI usage.
Yeah, and now because this has been such a big problem for companies, I think historically with detection and response, we've had EDR, NDR, every kind of DR in the world, and the thing that I've always said about them is they're very good at the detection, not so great at the response because they're all separate silos. Now XDR was supposed to solve all those problems. Is it fair to say that XDR really hasn't lived up to the hype it was initially and solved the problems it was supposed to?
I think that we are seeing a little bit of that trial of disillusionment phase a little bit right now, but looking at how organizations like yours are really trying to help people understand, first of all, that response piece. I do think that XDR solved for that in a way and asked organizations and vendors to elevate how response is a requirement. So detection response hadn't lived up to it. Response is part of that. But yes, the ability to take all of that data and consistently apply meaningful analytics to it has been tough to do.
Yeah. Now, I know earlier this year, Cisco announced its next phase of its XDR, right? I don't know if you call it 2.0 version or whatever, but talk about what that is and what that brings that maybe, if you want to call it the legacy XDR solutions didn't bring, if we have legacy XDR.
Right. Yeah, we move so fast that it might be legacy at this point. Yeah. We are leaning into the usage of generative AI consistently even more and the agentic model. So really wanting to look at where, to your point, maybe even our XDR solution isn't always able to tell you 100% what happened in your environment. So you might have questions. We present a good incident, but now you have 3 questions that you would want to investigate and be able to get that additional information to put together what we would say a definitive statement on what happened and what the impact was. We're going to be using generative AI and those agents to take up those roles. So investigation, go find out those 3 questions. Also learn from that customer and what questions they would ask and just apply those questions next time. And then we're actually seeing, really interestingly, people being more amenable to leaning into some fully autonomous response.
Yeah, that would be the agentic component, right?
That would be a piece. Yeah, so these agents, the investigation agent will do one thing, the response agent will do another thing. There'll be detection components that are running and are already running in our platform today. And so we would look at having that multi-agent mode bring together this, what we call instant attack verification, with that confident statement on impact in your environment.
And what kind of, when you talk to SOC engineers, what kind of things do you think they'd be comfortable making fully autonomous versus things they want to keep doing themselves?
Deterministic detections and to a response, or they like to be fairly autonomous with.
And give me an example of what that is.
Basically a known threat with a known response and with an incredibly low risk of false positive to full, and then we'll call it over-rotated on a false or exceptionally strong response.
Like
so
we would rarely do hash-based detections anymore, but that would be a good example. You know that this file is bad from this actor. That's a perfect example.
When we start crossing domains and then like bringing data together from EDRs and NDRs and then driving a response into a network, that's when people start to go, well, is it the right type of response for the detections that we have? And that's where the agentic components are coming in to better recommend the expected actions from that response. And we're trying to close that gap for acceptability of the risk to an automated response.
And do you see a day where the Iron Man and Jarvis type scenario where SOC engineers are talking to their systems actually comes about in the near future?
Yeah, actually, our design team literally took us through that exercise and said, think about it like Jarvis. Think about Tony Stark saying, this is not relevant, how would you do that? So we do. I mean, whether it's in this very cool visualization that comes around us, might be a Tony Stark special, but we do see that. I think we are seeing customers, to your point, be more and more comfortable with if there's transparency and explainability in what you're going to be doing, and they have some guardrails around that. Examples like, I don't have staff. Staff is still driving a lot of this. I don't have staff to be hands-on looking at these things, so I am going to enforce an aspect of trust into that. And I think that more and more, as people get comfortable with that and robots are sitting there cooking your dinner for you, you'll get more comfortable with that Jarvis.
Well, it's funny because everybody talks about, I'm glad you brought jobs up, everyone talks about AI taking jobs, but in the security industry, all people tell me is they can't hire people fast enough. And so this is a case where if I can just close the gap a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's AI is going to make it a lot easier for security operators to up level and just do their job more effectively. I was talking to some of the SOC team here yesterday, and they've been using AI to write Splunk queries all week. They've just they just ask the AI, this is the type of query we want to do, ask the AI to produce it, comes back perfectly, they drop into Splunk, do a couple tests, works exactly as expected.
So on the topic of Splunk, how does what you're building from autonomous and agent fit into the other SOC tools like the SIM from Splunk? I mean, that was a pretty big investment you made. How do all these pieces of the SOC now fit together to change the operational model?
I would say that without giving too much information away that we can't say, we're looking at how Agentic is enforced across the entire portfolio, very similarly to how we looked at security cloud control and having commonality even in the operational level. So the idea would be, can all this data come together in a way that we can learn off of it while respecting privacy and decisions that organizations want for us to use and not use that data, but then how do those agents go across it? That data that investigate agent's going to go ask, it shouldn't just look across the data we have in XDR, it should look across a customer's SIM, hopefully it's Splunk, but if it's not, it should still search across that data, and we shouldn't need data lakes only and consistently asking customers to put that data in one place for that to work.
All right, let's go and sum this up. So AI is creating new threats, right? Yeah. And in fact, we were talking about this last night, where my research shows about half of the things coming into the SOC tools are kind of ignored today. But I think XDR was supposed to solve the problem with AI, though. It can actually take that vision to reality. Is that a good way to sum it up?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so more AI coming.
More AI coming.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you for all of the things that you do and helping to support awareness of everything that cybersecurity analysts need.
Yeah, well, certainly, I think when you look at AI, there's the threat actors are using it, and I've always said you got to fight fire with fire, right? You couldn't, so if you're not using AI in security, you should.
And that'll be the next conversation, how they're badly using AI, meaning to do bad things. We can have that conversation next.
All right. So
all right,
on behalf of Matt Robertson and Briana Farro from Cisco, I'm Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research saying thanks for watching. Give us a like and also hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time, my next episode of ZKast.